So welcome back to another rebuild here on NBA 2K25 Next Gen. And in today's video, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. All things considered, last season for Minnesota was an absolutely huge success. Obviously, the emergence of Anthony Edwards as one of the faces of the NBA has been so awesome to see. He is such a fun player to watch, going to be a superstar in this league for a very, very long time. Now, he did lead this team to a Western Conference Finals appearance. Of course, we all remember that thrilling series they had in the second round against the Denver Nuggets where they were down big in Game 7 in Denver. End up storming all the way back, beating the defending champs, and going on, of course, losing to Luka in the Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals. But, for Anthony Edwards, he is going to be, one of the faces of this league for a very long time. Now, this core, obviously, around him is pretty talented. They have a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year in Rudy Gobert. They have statistically one of the biggest, or I guess best big man shooters of all time in Karl-Anthony Towns. And I really do think this team is going to continue to be on the rise for years to come. Now, I'll give you all my thoughts on this current roster and kind of what my plans are for this team here today. But before we do, of course, as always, let me know any of the rebuild ideas down below in the comments section. Now, you guys have been obviously requesting me to do a whole lot of different teams. I've been trying to do the ones that I've been seeing the most and the ones that I think you guys will really want to see first. So I promise you guys I'm not ignoring any of your comments. I'm just trying to do, what the majority wants to see at this point in time. So, of course, we'll get to every single team. You guys have any other rebuild challenges, series ideas, whatever it may be, let me hear it down there. So that is it for me, man, right now. I am excited for this one today. Let's hopefully go get Anthony Edwards a championship. Here we are at the start of the 2024-2025 NBA season. This offseason for Minnesota, there wasn't a lot of moving pieces. I really like their draft. Of course, the big draft night deal to acquire Rob Dillingham in a trade with the San Antonio Spurs. That was absolutely fantastic. I think he's going to be a very nice fit with this group. Did end up losing Kyle Anderson in free agency, which may hurt their depth a little bit at that power forward spot, but we'll talk about it in just a sec. So here at the point guard spot, kind of a tale of two times in players' careers. Mike Conley, 37 years old at that 81 overall. Probably not going to be a 3-year option for us here at that point guard spot, but for now, he is going to be my day one starter, and of course, unless, anything crazy pops up in the trade find or anything like that. I like the Rob Dillingham pickup quite a bit. Of course, they ended up giving a pickup in 2032 or something like that to land Rob Dillingham, so, I'm excited to see what he can do here today with this team. As of now, he will be my backup point guard. We head to the shooting guard spot. We talked a little bit about Anthony Edwards in the intro, 23 years of age, a 93 overall, certainly one of the most entertaining players to actually watch in the sport of basketball. And there's just not really enough good things to say about him. So I'm very excited to see what he does next year. I don't know if he'll be quite literally an MVP candidate, up there with like Luka and SGA and Jokic and those guys, but I do think he's in that superstar class, and he is going to be a force for a very long time. You got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who is certainly a solid role player on this team. Now, whether or not I play him at the backup 2, backup 3 is certainly still up in the air, but he will definitely be getting some minutes in this rotation. They drafted Terrence Shannon Jr. as well, of course, 24 years old, out of Illinois. He was a late first-round pick at number 27 overall, and ultimately, as an older prospect, you kind of imagine he has some sort of impact relatively early on into his NBA career. So I'm excited to see what he can do here for us today. Of course, at that 71 overall, it's a little bit lower than maybe you'd like to see in the rotation, especially of a contending team, but we will eventually find him some minutes on this squad. All right, Jaden McDaniels, 80 overall, very, very fantastic defensive player. I think about that first round series where they ended up sweeping the the Phoenix Suns, and he did some pretty fantastic work, if I do say so myself, against Phoenix. So I'm excited to see what we can do with him here today. Of course, he is getting paid quite a bit of money, so hopefully that overall can continue to progress in some of those offensive numbers as well. Now, 37-year-old Joe Ingles, while he still may be a pretty decent shooter, he is not going to be a 3-year option for us. He may not even be a 1-year option for us at this backup small forward spot. So, of course, it's always good to have depth. I'm a big fan of bringing veterans in, whether it's to have them come off the bench in a limited capacity or just really be a locker room guy. But, I like Joe. Unfortunately, I would say his better days are kind of behind him. PJ Dozier and then Josh Minott are both certainly options here. Similar overalls, age of 6 years difference. So, we'll see what we have in terms of these two options here and move over to the power forward spot. Karl-Anthony Towns. A lot of varying opinions about Karl-Anthony Towns. We'll get to Gobert and the varying opinions about him in just a second. But starting out with Cat here, he certainly is a very strong performer. And he's also a lot of time ends up being, not so great. So, it's unfortunate to see because I think Karl-Anthony Towns, obviously the former number 1 overall pick back in 2015, is obviously a really, really good player. And if you don't believe me that he is statistically one of the best big man shooters of all time, go look up the numbers. I promise you he is. So, my goal today is to obviously hang on to him for the entirety of the video. I'd love to get him a championship here. He was kind of the, starting point of their rebuild almost a decade ago. And I'd like to get him that ring here. So we'll figure out how that's going to go. go. Leonard Miller, currently my only backup power forward spot. This is what I was kind of talking about in terms of maybe a little bit of a depth issue after the departure of Kyle Anderson. So, I'm not sure if Leonard Miller is actually going to be playing, second round pick from 2023, but we'll see if we have a spot for him at some point in time. And then obviously, Mr. Rudy Gobert, 32 years of age, has obviously won multiple Defensive Players of the Year. And then, I'm not sure I'm going to sit here and tell you he completely falls apart in the playoffs or anything like that, but there are certainly moments where he doesn't look like he's necessarily out there doing the best of jobs, maybe even the worst of jobs at times. But, I still don't think people, I don't know how to phrase this. I think people are going to obviously remember, I guess the step back three Luka hit against him out, basically not even near half court, but he was out in an area that he probably shouldn't have been. And people are going to remember that probably as one of the more iconic moments of that series in the Western Conference Finals last year. But ultimately, that really wasn't what lost them the series. There were a lot of other moving factors. I thought Jaden McDaniels wasn't necessarily fantastic in that Western Conference Finals series. And I think the Gobert hate does get a little excessive at points. So, that's not me saying I'm going to keep him the whole time. Of course, we know probably going to be a decent amount of regression. He's also going to be entering free agency at some point in time. So we'll see what's going to end up happening here with Rudy. You got Naz Reid, former 6th man of the year last season. I love Naz Reid. Everybody loves Naz Reid. I don't know if he'll ever be starting at any point in today's video, but he is certainly an enticing backup center option. Then you got Luka Garza here as well. 71 overall, 25 years of age. Kind of just our third big man option, if you will, on the squad right now. So, that is it, right? I think, as I mentioned, there is maybe a little bit of depth issues that does end up concerning me a little bit, but there might be one or two trades before we kick off year one. I don't necessarily imagine anything too crazy, though. This trade here with the Miami Heat is going to land us our new backup power forward in Haywood Highsmith. Now, we're sending out PJ Dozier and Luka Garza. Ultimately, neither of these players were really going to play for me. They're both 71 overalls. They're both 25 plus years old. And while that doesn't mean their career is necessarily over here in my rebuild, it kind of does. So Haywood Highsmith on a 2-year, $10 million deal. And 27 years old, 74 overall. He's certainly an upgrade from what we had. So I think that might end up being it in terms of the trades, because we now have a 10-man rotation, even if it's a little less ideal than what we maybe initially anticipated. I'm actually going to play Nickeil Alexander-Walker at the backup 3. Now, that might not be the best move in the world. He also jumps up 2 overalls, which is nice to see. But it's also going to allow me to get some minutes here at the backup shooting guard spot to Terrence Shannon Jr. And I do want to get him some minutes, because at the end of the day, Anthony Edwards is going to eat up the vast majority of the 2 guard minutes. And if we play Terrence Shannon Jr. 10 minutes a night off the bench, who's that really going to hurt? So we have our 10-man rotation. We have finalized it. Let's set that rotation. And with that, we are now ready to kick off year number 1 here with the Timberwolves. On paper, there's probably not a lot of surprises 1 through 5. We've talked a little bit about the way we want to kind of put this bench together, and I think ultimately we have a plan and we're going to stick to it. It is Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Rudy Gobert. Again, not a lot of surprises in there 1 through 5. Naz Reid will be my 6th man off the bench. You got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Haywood Highsmith, newly acquired, and then the 2 young rookies with Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr. So again, I want to maximize these guys' potential, and only way to really do that is by playing them. So that is how it's going to go for now, 14 and 10 minutes a night respectively for both our rooks. So that is it, man. Again, I think this is one of the better teams in the Western Conference, and we just got to go out and prove that once again, maybe get all the way to the finals this time. See you guys at the end of year 1 here in Minnesota. What an absolutely fantastic way to kick off this rebuild. 63-19 here as we wrap up year 1, and it doesn't really get much better than that. I 1000% will take it. Luka Doncic does win MVP. We are very much familiar with that as we continue to go about the 2K25 rebuild. Same with Reza Shea, Amen Thompson, Victor Wembanyama. These are basically always the same thing here for year 1. It looks like Chris Finch did get Coach of the Year, and as you can see right there, we are the 1 seed. So really, really solid start for us here. We'll be facing a play-in team, and we did end up having the best record in all of basketball. Let's go over and take a look at the stats on the season. Anthony Edwards, absolutely fantastic. 33 points a game, about 5 boards, 4 assists. He was about 57% from the field. That is absolutely awesome for a 6'4 shooting guard, and he was about 44% from beyond the arc. Absolutely insane. Karl-Anthony Towns. Naz Reid was our 3rd leading scorer off of the bench. Wow. Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert, Rob Dillingham was great in his rookie season. Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Terrence Shannon Jr., and then Haywood Highsmith. We were led in boards by Mr. Gobert, and assists was Mike Conley at 8 per game. So, round 1, it is going to be us and the Phoenix Suns. We are just, I guess, running it back from the first round of the playoffs last year. The Phoenix Suns are obviously a core that's pretty much locked in. I did like the Tyus Jones addition quite a bit this offseason. Not sure if he'll be in the starting lineup lineup or leading the second unit, but whatever it is, it's a nice pickup. So here goes nothing. Quick start for us as we split the first two at home. Now, we do win Game 3 on the road and Game 4 on the road, and we end up gentlemen sweeping them this year as we do end up winning in 5. Now, we move on to the Sacramento Kings. Of course, they are now back in the playoffs, and they somehow added James Harden to their team. Did they trade Malik Monk for James Harden? Okay, looks like that's exactly what they did. Interesting. Well, here goes nothing in the Western Conference semifinals. Quick 2-0 lead for us. They do win Game 3 on their home floor and Game 4. We go up 3-2, and we are back, I guess, the same Western Conference finals as last year. It is us and the Dallas Mavericks over there in the East. It is New York and Philadelphia. Now, here's a look at Dallas. Obviously, this team ended up beating the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5 games last year. Started out with a 3-0 lead where they won the first 2 on Minnesota's home court. And, yeah, I'd like that to not happen this year. So, Kelly Olynyk's also now here. No disrespect to Kelly, the Canadian GOAT, but you also have Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, both who I would consider better options at that center spot. So here goes nothing. Split the first 2 on our home floor, do win 3 and Game 4, and do not blow this 3-1 lead. Thank you very much. We have advanced to the NBA Finals here in year 1, and we're going to be taking on Jalen Brunson and the New York Knicks. So let's take a look at their squad, of course, this offseason. Huge addition with Mikal Bridges. They're actually running him as a 6th man right now. Got Dante still in the starting lineup, and yeah, this New York team obviously has a lot of quality depth, so that is going to be probably the biggest challenge we find ourselves facing. Quick 2-0 lead for us, though. 3-0 lead for us. And as we head back to the Garden here, can we close them out and sweep them on their home floor? It would be a fantastic way to start this video, obviously. And it looks like, oh my God, look at that fourth quarter. We might just be running away with it here, folks. Up 20. I'll see you guys in there. We have outscored the New York Knicks 33-12 so far here in the fourth quarter. That has obviously put us in the driver's seat to really get this sweep done and get that championship in year 1. I believe, if my memory is serving me correctly, this will be our first championship in a year 1 of the 2K25 rebuild. Somebody's fallen asleep. So that's obviously awesome, right? We are obviously, you know, a little bit less stressed out in terms of how the remainder of this video is going to go. Now, doesn't mean we're not going to try and not going to still make trades because, of course, what is the fun in that if we're not going to do anything else? But we are obviously in a much better position than some of these other rebuilds have been so far. Out to Cat for 3. Gets it to go. Okay. 21 points. So I guess let's chit-chat about the Timberwolves right now. God, I hope the Timberwolves will like make those throwbacks, like those white jerseys with like the cool lettering, like they're permanent jerseys. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, these jerseys that they're wearing here in 2K right now, I hate them. I'm not a fan. They look like 2015. I don't really know why they give me that vibe. I'm not a huge fan. But now getting to the important stuff. Of course, I'm not going to continue to glaze Anthony Edwards. We have done enough of that in this video. But, you know, truly, if he ends up somehow taking even another step, you know, to truly being one of the faces of basketball, which in my opinion, he already is, I really do think this guy's the limit for this team. Now, there wasn't a lot of blockbuster moves for Minnesota this offseason, typically, or not typically, but really because the majority of their core is locked in on big contracts. So, you know, as long as this team can stay healthy and, you know, kind of fit as a cohesive unit, keep that defensive identity that has really been working for them now, I don't really think that there's any reason that this can't be a top 2 or 3 team in the West. I truly do believe that. So, you know, very excited to watch this team in action next year. Are they in the opener? Because I know the opening game of the season next year is Celtics and Knicks. Are they the late game? Do they play the Lakers? I think that might be accurate. Don't hold me to that. I very well could be wrong. I think that's accurate, though. That's a horrible pass on my part. This is why I don't like playing in close games, because I am historically bad at 2K, even though I'm, you know, pretty decent at the rebuild part of it. The gameplay part, not so much. So we're going to do one more thing here. I am going to call for an ISO and just hopefully dunk on somebody's fucking head. That would be kind of my ideal goal. And then if I want to get a screen here, hopefully Naz Reid comes and sets that for me. And then can we just drive down the lane here with... God damn it. All right, it goes. Good night. The New York Knicks have been swept out of the playoffs. They end up losing on their home floor in 4 games. Anthony Edwards, your finals MVP. Insane numbers, insane shooting splits. Oh my God, he was damn near 50, 50, 90. Wow. All right, that was about as successful as the year 1 can obviously go. Best record in the league at a relatively, I don't want to say easy championship, but it felt pretty easy. So it is going to be, wow, a couple different retirements here. So Mike Conley ends up calling it a career. Now, I am not going to override this, and there are a couple reasons. If I overrid his retirement, the only reason I would be doing it is so I can go ahead and trade him. Now, although this is not a realistic rebuild, that certainly feels a little scummy. Second, and more importantly, we just capped off his 18-year career with a championship. And of course, Mike Conley hasn't ever really come close to winning a championship except for, last season in real life. So I'm going to let Mike ride off into the sunset, go out on top. Of course, Al Horford, Kyle Lowry, LeBron James, they all have their rings now as well. And Brook Lopez and Kevin Love. And so Russ never ended up getting one. That kind of sucks. DJ, of course, did with Denver back in 2023. I'm talking a whole lot about shit that nobody really probably cares about. So long story short, we have to figure out our point guard spot is really what I'm trying to say. We are going to skip over all of this. We'll head into the draft lottery. Of course, Minnesota not having a lot of future assets considering what they gave up for Rudy Gobert, but we are obviously, I would say, the winners of that deal now, really, no doubt, especially considering he's won a championship. So hanging on to Chris Finch, we now approach the 2025 NBA draft. Do we have anything? I just want to confirm. We have the second overall pick in round 2. I'll actually use it. I haven't been drafting a lot of players so far. Throw out 2K25. Ooh, Alex Caravan sitting here? Okay, sure. At least I know who that is. Welcome to the team, Alex Caravan. Obviously an important piece to UConn's national championships. All right, he's a 72 overall. I'll live with that. Now, Rudy Gobert, not really surprising, ends up picking up his almost $46 and almost $47 million option. Naz Reid, of course, very important for us to retain his services. No on the qualifying offers. And there's not really a lot major here we're going to have to do. I am interested in, of course, paying Naz, getting him back, and then the same thing with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So we are certainly also going to have to figure out something at the point guard spot as much, as I really do think Rob Dillingham's going to be a successful player in this league and a really important piece of this Minnesota team. Heading into his second season around a 73 and probably around 75 next year. I don't want him starting on a championship caliber team. So, there's some sort of trade coming. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be yet. If I can find a way to add Case and Wallace to this team, I would be willing to give up Terrence Shannon Jr. Now, although I stand by what I said, I think Terrence Shannon Jr. is going to be and will be an important piece for the Minnesota Timberwolves for a long time. You guys know me. I'm always going to value starters over bench players, especially bench players who are playing, about 10 minutes a game. So I'd like to find a way to add him to this team. Of course, given our financial situation, there's really not a, real way without giving up a starter in order to add any sort of star point guard. So, wow, that's it. Gave up Case and Wallace that easy. Okay, well, welcome to the team. Our 2 point guard options are now 21 and 20. I don't think we're going to have to be worrying about retirement possibilities with anything there. We do have to find ourselves a new backup for Anthony Edwards. I intentionally wanted to hang on to Alex Caravan and not trade him because I do think maybe heading into year 3 he could be a rotation piece. I could also certainly just move Nickeil Alexander-Walker back to the backup shooting guard spot and then play Caravan here in year 1, but I'm only really going to do that if there's like a serious better option out there. Because if I were to trade Highsmith, because he's expiring as well, so there's an option and a possibility that I do consider moving on from him if the right trade, of course, is available, and it doesn't really appear that is the case right now. All right, I'll just hang on to Haywood Highsmith as well. Let's just see the shooting guard options here. Like Karis LeVert, right? Let's throw Karis LeVert a 2-year deal. Certainly nothing wrong with that if he's maybe willing to come here on that price tag. He is certainly a fine option there. Caravan maybe plays year 3. I will see you guys at the start of year 2. As we approach year 2, there's a couple things I want to note. First and foremost, we are seeing some really, really solid progression out of both of our young point guards. Case and Wallace up to an 80 overall. You'll see in just a second. Rob Dillingham's up to a 78. He took an absolutely insanely big jump that maybe I wasn't necessarily anticipating. And I guess I'm thankful that I still brought in Case and Wallace because maybe he's better at this point. But what I'm really thankful for is I didn't really give up a lot to get him because that would have sucked considering Dillingham is already a 78. Something else, we are seeing a little bit of regression out of Rudy Gobert in terms he went down 2 overalls. He is going to be entering unrestricted free agency after this season. So certainly something to keep an eye on. But here's how it's going to look. Wallace, Edwards, McDaniels, Towns, and Gobert. Really not a lot of surprises there. Naz Reid will remain my 6th man. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Rob Dillingham, Karis LeVert, and then Haywood Highsmith rounding out the 10-man. So, yeah, I mean, again, this was a championship team last year. Of course, it sucked losing Mike Conley for nothing, but we replaced him with a relatively similar overall and a really good defensive guard here in Case and Wallace. So, standing by our hard-nosed defense, standing by this team is the best in the league. I'll see you guys at the end of year 2. Just when I thought we had maybe reached our full potential in terms of wins, I was dead wrong. 67 and 15. That is how we wrap up year 2 here in Minnesota. It is also nice to see somebody else outside of Luka Doncic win an MVP in one of these videos. And SGA gets it done. Averaged damn near 39 points a game throughout an 82-game season. Injuries are off. He played every game. That is absolutely insane. And he was 50, 40, 90. Awesome. Cooper Flag, he's your Rookie of the Year. He's a member of the Utah Jazz. Ben Thompson, once again, your 6th man. Wemby, once again, your depoy. Alex Sarr wins Most Improved. SGA also wins Clutch Player of the Year. And they don't even give us Head Coach of the Year to our guy, Chris Finch. All right. All right. We'll take that. We'll note it down. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't a great season there in Dallas, but I'm just saying, we're battling out for the best record in the league. You can maybe give it to the guy who actually won that, but that's fine. Neither here nor there. Of course, they did end up winning one less game than us, and yeah, we are obviously going to have that one seed. And here's a look at the East, which I feel like Charlotte always ends up being really good in these videos so far. It's something I've certainly noticed. Anthony Edwards was fantastic, about 34 points a game, 5.5, 6 rebounds, about 4.5 assists a game. Karl Anthony Towns, Naz Reid, Kaysen Wallace, McDaniels, Dillingham, Gobert. You guys have eyeballs, you can read. Rebounds were led by Gobert, and assists was Kaysen Wallace. So first round, it is us and the Houston Rockets. They have put together a solid young core. They are an up-and-coming team, and there is certainly a lot of talent here, and certainly a lot of depth at that. So here goes nothing in round one of the Western Conference playoffs. Good start for us with a 2-1 lead. Make it a 2-1. I meant 2-0, and I meant 3-0, and now I mean 3-1. Get my shit together. We end up winning in 5. We move on to the San Antonio Spurs. Of course, the unicorn himself, Mr. Victor Wembanyama. There is some young talent outside of that, but there's not a lot that really terrifies me considering the build and the makeup of our team. So, they are definitely better than us at the center position. I think that's just about it, though. And we are running back the Western Conference Finals for the 3rd straight year, and it is us in the Dallas Mavericks. And they are finally starting Derek Lively, which I am assuming they were, fans were probably begging for years at this point. And I certainly would be one of those people. I love Derek Lively's game. Here goes nothing. Quick 2-0 lead for us in the West Finals. 3-0 lead. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Yeah, give Jason Kidd Coach of the Year. Eat shit. Anthony Edwards going to be going up against Jason Tatum and the Celtics here in the NBA Finals. Celtics actually were an 8 seed. Interesting. This game hates the Celtics, I've noticed. D'Angelo Russell ends up here, and he is starting over Drew Holiday for reasons that are obviously beyond my belief. I think Drew Holiday fits a lot better with that group, and James Harden is here. What the fuck? That is the most shameless ring chasing I've ever seen. Here goes nothing in the NBA Finals. I have no idea how that was an 8 seed. They are better than an 8 seed, but I guess maybe not because we're just absolutely kicking the living shit out of them. And they give Karl Anthony Towns Finals MVP. I'm just curious. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. Very well could have. I just want to see what were Ant's stats. Yeah, man, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if Towns deserved that one. It's cool to see Cat get one, but I might give him that one to Ant. All right, Chris Paul, Eric Gordon, James Harden officially ends up going out as well. Derrick Rose calling it a career. Same with Greg Popovich, one of the greatest head coaches in NBA history. And we will go through the draft lottery, of course. Not going to have a pick in said lottery, but let's just see what's going to happen as we go for our first three-peat here in 2K25. Obviously, hanging on to the man, Chris Finch, done a fantastic job with this team so far. As we approach the draft, let's just confirm. Oh, we actually do have our first-round pick. Okay. Fuck it. Why not? We'll draft somebody at 30. I don't know if they'll actually play for us or not. I have no idea who Ray Webb the third is, but maybe with the potential departure of Haywood Highsmith, maybe he gets a little run here in the final regular season. Oh, he went to Minnesota as well. Actually, perfect pick. He's a 71 overall, probably not going to play, but we'll just make do with what we got. I will bring back Alex Karaban as well, and as we approach the qualifying offer period, we have nobody, and here in free agency, I know we are going to have Mr. Gobert, who is probably going to regress. Let's just be honest with each other. I'm actually going to let Haywood Highsmith walk. Yeah, for now I am anyways. So we're going to bring back Gobert. I'm just going to keep... It's very, very rare throughout any single time, since the Minnesota Timberwolves have actually traded for Gobert that I have kept him the entirety of this video. But, we've just won back-to-back championships. And honestly, at this point, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I know there's going to be a little bit of regression there, but we'll deal with that. I don't think there's going to be any major changes at all. There might be one or two small ones, but, this team has been such a dominant force throughout this video. Why would I make anything major at this point, We are going to work on yet another potential deal here with the Utah Jazz. If we are possibly able to pick up Taylor Hendricks, he would be a clear-cut upgrade at our backup power forward spot. And although it would have been cool to play, I guess, Ray Webb, whoever that is, who just went to Minnesota and obviously just got drafted by Minnesota at a 71 overall, when we're trying to three-peat, I need everybody to be as good and as locked in as possible. So I'd like to get this done. Of course, we do have some draft picks we can now be able to deal away, and it only ends up taking one. So my thought process on this is, yes, he'll go down a few overalls, actually only one, but Nickeil Alexander-Walker will move back to the backup two-guard spot, and then we're actually just going to let Alex Karaban rock it at the backup small forward spot. Going to get a little bit of run in probably 10 minutes a game, but it is what it is. We are not making any other changes. I will see you guys at the start of the final regular season. We are looking for the three-peat here in Minnesota. Obviously, this has been a very successful rebuild so far, and it would be probably my most successful rebuild of 2K25 to date if we were able to cap off the three-peat. Now, in terms of major changes, there is nothing in the starting five. It is still Cason Wallace, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Rudy Gobert, who actually is down to an 82. And if I auto-set this rotation, the game actually recommends I start Naz Reid over him. Now, I'm not going to do that. I think Rudy Gobert has earned the right to continue to start because we have done nothing but continue to win. So we're just going to leave that as it is. Naz Reid will remain in the six-man role. Rob Dillingham is progressing quite nicely as our backup point guard. Rod and Taylor Hendricks in another deal with the Jazz. Nikhil Alexander-Walker, who I kind of feel bad for. He went from a lot bigger role to 12 minutes a night, and that kind of sucks, honestly. And then Alex Karaban going to be the 10th and final guy on this team. So, yeah, I just hope we can continue what we have done so far throughout the entirety of this rebuild. And that would be dominate, to say the least. So, see you guys at the end of the final regular season. For the first time in one of my 2K25 rebuilds, we have three different MVPs. Victor Wembanyama wrapping up year 3 here with his first career one. More importantly, we actually got better. Again, somehow, some way. I have no idea. 73-9. Tied the best record in NBA history. Hopefully our 73-9 season doesn't end like the Warriors did. Darius Acuff Jr., he's your Rookie of the Year in Toronto. Cade Cunningham is now coming off the bench in Detroit. Wemby wins his third straight DPOY. Trey Johnson, Most Improved Player. Steph Curry, Clutch Player. And Chris Finch, yeah, 73. I don't know. I mean, this team is good. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you all, but there is no way, in my opinion, that they are a 73-win team. But I'm certainly going to take it when 2K is nice to me because it does not happen often. Here are the numbers. I'm just not even going to pause at this point because you guys can just look if you're really that interested. Round 1 of the playoffs, it is us and the Golden State Warriors. Of course, Steph Curry just won a Clutch Player of the Year. Outside of him, though, there is not a lot here. That really makes me very nervous. So that is a sweep. We move on to the Houston Rockets. They added Nolan Traore. Got Jalen Green, Cam Whitmore, Jabari Smith Jr. Still got Şengün and a whole lot of really good depth. So we will go game by game with this one, but ultimately not super terrified of this team. You know what I've just realized? Have we been down in a series so far? I actually don't know the answer to that. Interesting. And for the first time in this video, we are in the Western Conference Finals, not facing the Dallas Mavericks. It is the San Antonio Spurs. They are starting Wemby at the 4. Oh, my God. 7'4", playing the 4. Goddamn. Well, here goes nothing. We have a pretty tall front court ourselves, and we end up sweeping them out of their own building. And we were taking on Cam Thomas and the Brooklyn Nets here in the NBA Finals. Respectfully, you don't really stand a chance. I'm not going to lie to you. We get the three-peat done. Anthony Edwards is your finals MVP, and this video went about as good as one possibly could go. It's crazy to think that 3 years from now, Anthony Edwards will legitimately still only be 25 years old, which is so crazy to think about. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say. Of course, the Minnesota Timberwolves, we started this video off with a really good team already. They're a team not only with an identity, but with a young superstar, and it's about as good as I possibly could have hoped. So, you know, I'll take it, man, and hope you guys enjoyed. So I still think we made some really nice moves, you know, kind of adding on to this team. Of course, did lose our point guard to retirement after year 1, so I guess that put up our biggest challenge of this video, if you will, but we are in a really good spot. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know any other rebuild ideas down below in the comment section. We are going to do our best to get to every single one of the NBA teams before the 2024-25 NBA season actually tips off in real life. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. I know I certainly am, and hope you guys are liking the rebuild so far. So that's it for me, man. As always, thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. I'll catch you guys all in the next one.